Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for coming in on this very important issue. We are here today, as we were here just 6 months ago, telling all of you, the same folks that were in this room, that something had to be done. And unfortunately, when our constituents, when our neighbors opened up their Eversource and UI bills, their utility bills, just a couple weeks ago or a week ago or so, they saw what we said would be a problem 6 months ago. We told all of you in this room, we told the majority in the legislature that we had to do something then, immediately, that our ratepayers, our neighbors, our constituents couldn't afford to live in what is already an unaffordable state to begin with. We begged for them to take up these proposals. Most of these were completely rejected, summarily, most of which never even got a public hearing. They were not interested in addressing the issues we felt had to be addressed. And we're here today to say enough is enough. Our ratepayers are paying too much. There is zero reason Connecticut should be the second highest state in the United States of America when it comes down to electricity rates. It has to end. So once and for all, we had the proposals we came to you with in February. The ARPA stuff is out the window. We have ways we can address that, we believe. But that was one aspect of the proposal. That was then used for operational expenses instead. But we did ask for the ARPA funds to be used towards mitigating this moratorium expense and softening this bill. And then also looking at the future and finding ways to stop the bleeding, essentially, from these exponentially rising electricity rates. So we're here once again to call on the governor, call us into special session now. This is an emergency. Let's address this issue. Let's stop the bleeding. And let's once again make our electric rates in this state affordable. It is ridiculous where we've gotten to where we've gotten. The majority has done nothing about it. And we're once again here telling them to let's do something about it. We're here today to do something about it. And I'm going to turn it over to Vin to speak more on that.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks, Steve, for your spirited comments. And
I drank a Red Bull before I got
it does feel like Groundhog Day all over again. I think it was about 6 months that we were in this very room suggesting proposals to mitigate the problems that we've seen with our electric bills. And I'm not sure how long it's going to take before the other side of the aisle would actually acknowledge our proposals and incorporate them for relief for the taxpayers. You know, we are all just as outraged as our residents when they opened up their electric bill and saw the massive inflation to their bill. And now we see electricity joining the chorus of other items like gas and groceries that are hitting Connecticut residents. And to me, when we see the wake of surpluses and money, overflowing into the pension funds, our higher education institutions receiving the bulk of the ARPA funding, government is the beneficiaries of itself, not the people. We were frustrated when the Democrats decided to so-called not do a budget at all and left it up to the governor to make all the decisions and all the fixes. Today, it shouldn't be lost on any of us that the FAC committee is going to be upstairs transferring upward of $75 million to take care of our state workers for a pension shortfall that we were statutorily obligated to make, that the Democrats didn't put in their budget, that Republicans actually had incorporated into our budget, and they are today ignoring 3.5 million residents who have been hit with electric bills and are afforded no relief. So today you're going to hear from a couple of our proposals that we've already have brought up in the past. And I think I want to just touch on PURA. We talked about needing to separate PURA, but even more specifically, to make the appointments that are statutorily obligated to make. We are supposed to have 5 members on that commission. Right now, we have 3. There's 1 new appointment. I believe there might be someone retiring. The other 2 are serving at the whim of the governor. And the significance of that is now we've seen our electric decisions go from an autonomous body to an organization that has moved into a spare room in the governor's office where they're making decisions behind closed doors and it's being micromanaged by our governor's office. That is not the way our electric rates are supposed to be done. And so this burden is falling on us to try to come up with solutions. So what I want to start out is handing it over to Representative Buckby, our ranking member on the Energy Committee, to talk about that.
Good morning. I had a constituent the other day that came up to me and asked me why his electric bill was $2,000 for a month. I live in New Milford. We're not talking about the Gold Coast here somewhere. $2,000. It's ridiculous. But I'm happy we're here. I'm actually really happy we're here to discuss some of this. One of my big pushes that I had, and we all stepped up for, was the public benefit charge to be seen on the bill. The public benefit charge has been something tucked into the bill for years. Now the transparency is there. And that's a tremendous help for people to be able to see. And quite frankly, that's why the constituents are so fired up and quite frankly, ticked off right now. As well they should be, because they can finally see all these extra fees that is the government just reaching in again for extra money, big grab, further taxation in a new way. Sorry. As Vinny mentioned, back in February, we came out here and we proposed using some of the ARPA dollars. Why did we get ARPA dollars? It was post-pandemic. Why did we let people not pay their bill for 4 years? That's post-pandemic. It aligned properly. In the meantime, that money is now in higher education. Not saying it's not a great cause, but that's not what that money was intended for, and it's not where it should be used best. I kind of equate it to if someone asks you to dinner. Vinny, you want to go to dinner? I invite him out to dinner. We go to dinner. Then I ask the entire restaurant to pay for our dinner for 4 straight years. That's unacceptable. No one in that restaurant expected that. No one asked for that. No one had any input to that. They're just being told, you're buying. I do want to say one more thing, too. A couple of months ago, the majority party wanted to come in and rediscuss the big green monster, which would only have increased the dollars on the bill from this point, too. And they wanted to come in and do that. We're asking to go to special session again to drop that down. The people are screaming from the rooftops. It's time we do something. Let's get politics aside, put the people first, and bring that bill down. Guess following me is my other ranking member from Energy, Senator Fazio. All you.
Thank you, Representative. Setting aside all the details of month-to-month changes in electricity bills, all of our residents know a couple of things. First, that electricity is just too damn high in this state. And it's a necessity. It's not an option for anybody, especially on the hottest days and the coldest days of the year. Second, we know that state policies, state leadership bears some responsibility for Connecticut's electricity costs being the second or the third highest in the entire country. And third, leaders in this state must act to reverse those policies and make Connecticut's electricity rates more affordable for the short, medium, and long term. We can do that. We're not here simply to cast blame. We're here to offer solutions as House and Senate Republican caucuses. And that's why over the past 2 years we have consistently put forward long-term energy proposals that we think will reduce costs. In fact, we know will reduce costs for the long term, while also shoring up reliability of the electricity grid and ensuring that we protect our environmental considerations as well. We have updated, but we mostly are reiterating those proposals from the last 2 years. First, we need an all-of-the-above clean energy strategy in this state. We should not have the state constantly picking winners and losers among sources of clean energy. That means all forms of nuclear, all forms of hydro, and other more reliable and affordable forms of clean energy should be on equal footing in the state's renewable portfolio standard with wind and solar and other sources of energy. We need to cap the rate that the state forces procurements for energy in our state. The state forces us to buy certain types of energy at a fixed long-term rate. Maybe they need to do that, but it shouldn't be at the cost 2, 3, or 4 times higher than the competitive market for electricity. We need to cap those government-directed purchases of electricity. We need to shore up our natural gas supply, especially for winter, especially when we see demand rising for electricity in the long run. It is not acceptable to have elderly or sickly people in the future have to worry about whether they're going to be able to heat their homes on 0-degree days. But we all know that that is the direction New England and Connecticut are heading in 10 or 20 years' time. So we need to study actionable ways for the state to shore up a more affordable natural gas supply, especially for the winter, that could help reduce costs for our electric grid, make it actionable both from the west and from the east. We need to look at moving all those public policy charges out of your electric bill and into the normal appropriations and budgetary process, whereby it competes with all other important sources of government spending and government programming, but is evaluated every 2 years for its costs and benefits on the merits. I think that's only fair. Some of these programs should continue to exist, but they should be reevaluated and tweaked through the normal budgetary process. You should not be forced to pay a hidden tax in your electricity bill every month as a matter of course. That is contributing to Connecticut having the highest electricity rates in the country. We should look at restructuring our energy regulatory bodies, yes, so there is more certainty, so there is more independence, and so that customers can have more certainty about the regulatory structure in Connecticut, that they will not be subject to, shall we say, malfeasance by any of the utilities as well. There is so much we can do in this state to make Connecticut more affordable for everyone, to grow our economy, to ensure that seniors on a fixed income or lower income families do not have to choose between their rent, their medication, their electricity bill, or anything else from month to month. We need to create jobs. We need to make our economy grow. We need to make Connecticut better than ever before. We can do that by going into special session and reforming our energy policy in this state to make it more affordable for the short, medium, and long term. All of us are confident that we can do that. All of us believe in governing, in leading, not just casting stones. That's what this announcement is about. I want to turn it back over to Representative Candelora to expound on one or two other proposals.
Thank you. Yeah, as we pointed out, we don't believe that it's fair that every resident in Connecticut is being saddled with bills on a moratorium that the governor extended over 4 years over and over and over again. They shouldn't have to be paying other people's bills. They're having trouble paying their own. Those benefit charges are assessed at about $200 million just this year alone. And our suggestion, like before, is that we should be looking at the ARPA funds in order to offset those costs. Right now, when the Democrats crafted their fake budget, they allocated money toward the deficit. All the ARPA unallocated money would flow into essentially a rainy day fund used to offset the deficit. That money should be examined and looked at. You know, it's very difficult for us to explain to our constituencies when they see surplus over surplus, billions of dollars that are flowing into our pensions and whatnot. And granted, a lot of that is done through the cap systems that we put in place to reduce our unfunded obligations. But it is about priorities. And we think the Democrats this year completely misplaced their priorities. And we need to re-examine that budget. We have a $329 million surplus just last week that was announced for fiscal year 2024. We should be looking at those pockets. We've increased now the budget reserve fund to 18%. It's over $684 million. If all of that money is not going to work for the Connecticut residents and is only going to work for government, then there's a problem. And so we should be looking at how we offset this $200 million of public benefit charges with general fund money. And we believe that there are plenty of pockets of money there left over from 2024 and going into 2025 in order to make up that difference.